because it just saves me some time in editing. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Definitely a little bit of a choppy market as we're starting to see the VIX tick up here. This is stuff we've talked about. Gold's still going higher. The 10-year treasury's going higher. The dollar strengthening. So all the signals that we've kind of been talking about on the channel are starting to come to a head. Not only have we been saying that this was going to happen, but we also have kind of earmarked the end of October into November and later part of December as this being a higher risk period. When we go on the charts, I'm going to explain how I pinpointed as this being a higher risk period. Now, obviously, the market is still in a very strong bullish formation. A lot of different things are taking place internally with the market, showing some weakness that's allowing me to say, hey, this might be a good time to build some cash. So not only are we thinking about valuation being a little bit elevated, we've got political tension. We also have the fact that the internals are telling us that there's some weakening going on in the market. So we're going to kind of just dive in here. I'll try to take questions after. If anybody hops on here, I'll try to answer some questions as always. And maybe we'll touch on a stock market watch list as well that I have to update. So let's just get right into it, everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoys. And the only thing I ask is that you consider subscribing and smash that thumbs up. So let's pull up the SPY here. And I'll just kind of go over what I'm personally seeing. So right off the bat, you guys can see this pretty strong white trend line that's drawn here. And what has happened? Well, we broke this trend line. This was a trend line that's been in play for just about a year, and we recently broke it. And this started signaling to me that waters could start getting choppy here. So pretty strong trend line that's been broken. We break it out. Let's put a 1-year daily chart up now. And I just want to zoom in more on the top of this range here where the break took place, and we'll go over exactly what I'm seeing. So as you guys can see here, it's a green configuration, which means that the chart is still bullish. Now we do have a sell signal here that recently had hit the top of this trend line. So we do have a sell signal. We're hitting kind of extreme valuations when we look at the market overall historically. So this was the first signal for me personally that I started seeing that, okay, the technicals are starting to break down here. Let's focus on what's going on, and then let's pull this out a little bit further and talk about how I earmarked the end of October into November as kind of a high risk period. And what you guys can see here is at the bottom of the chart, I do have money flow lines where I try to physically see where money flow is coming, where the high risk periods are coming. And you guys can see right here that basically mid-November is where I started seeing the problems could come. So as we get into the period of here, you guys can see that this is basically where I'm seeing the high risk period come in. Now we're getting a significant market sell-off. My doorbell just rang, so hold on one second here, guys. I will be back as soon as possible. All right, I am back. We had a package at the door, so I am back. All right, so kind of just to recap really quick, we broke a pretty substantial trend line here. Market conditions are still very, very positive, okay? So the option market, the buying volume, everything's still signaling that this is a very, very bullish market. You don't want to be short this market, but we're starting to get some breakdowns. First off, the trend line has been broken. That's number one. Number two is we're heading into a higher risk period, as you guys can see at the bottom of the screen here. As we get into basically end of October, beginning of November. On top of that, we have some indicators rolling over. So let me show you guys here. Let me zoom in on this one area. So you guys can see the white trend line has been broken, still positive configuration, so everything is still positive. But we're starting to get into a higher risk period as we head into this zone right here, which would be mid-November, end of October. So kind of a few weeks here, we're already starting to see a breakdown in the market, which is telling me that this could be a significant pullback. So the sooner that the breakdowns come, we have to be more cautious that the mean reversion could be a lot harder. It could be, instead of a normal 5 to 7% decline, we could be looking at a plus, 10+% decline. So you want to keep that in the back of your mind. And that's why I've been saying, with valuations where they are, where we are in the economic cycle, everything was telling me this would be a good opportunity to build cash. And I've been trying to relay that to you guys as best as I possibly can without being doom and gloom, obviously. So what we have going on here is we're starting to see the MACD starting to close the gap here and possibly roll over. So that's something we want to see for confirmation. So if this starts to roll over and we get the crossover, that's going to be confirmation that we could be heading into that corrective phase that I just talked about at the end of October into mid-November is when I think it's going to start. And it could already be starting as we're seeing markets kind of sell off here. It's just an earmarked time frame. It's not a perfect science. If anybody could time this perfectly, they wouldn't be making YouTube videos, right? So we try to use all the indicators we possibly can to make educated guesses, right? And so that's the first indicator. Next up is going to be the RSI starting to point down, money flow starting to flatten out. So those are two other indicators we're looking at here as well. And then lastly, the McClellan oscillator and the stochastic. The stochastic is flattening out here. McClellan oscillator is pointing down. So, excuse me, the stochastic's pointing down, the McClellan oscillator is flattening out. These are signals that we're starting to possibly hit a top in this market. We've earmarked this top, as I stated, mid-October to mid-November is where I thought we were going to get the correction. And it seems like the correction could actually be coming sooner than later. Now, once again, I want to reiterate, this is a bull market. So I'm not saying that this is a market you want to short. I'm just saying this might be a market where you might want to start looking at taking profits. So we've talked about building a little bit more cash as we get into the later part of this year. And, that's kind of been my thesis, kind of what I personally been focused on doing for me and my family. I just think things are not on sale. I don't get emotionally driven off of stocks. And when you're an individual stock picker, you do have to start looking at the risk curve here. If you're just set it, forget it, you don't need to worry about the daily things that are taking place within the market, right? We can kind of just, every month we put our, X amount of dollars in. We don't worry about what the market's doing. We don't worry about the macro environment, and we just keep plugging away. But what I'm trying to do is obviously outperform the market and try to create beta and try to create opportunities that I think are getting overlooked. And so that's why we focus on the fundamental analysis first, but also we lean on the technicals here. And some of the technicals are pointing that we're a little overextended. It could just be a correction. But as this starts to sell off, if it gets a deeper sell off as we get into a higher risk period, I tend to think that it could be a little bit bigger of a correction. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. So at this point in time, if anybody has any questions, definitely leave them for me. I'll try to get to them because that's basically kind of what I want to hop on here and talk about really quick. As far as individual names that I'm looking at, it's still, I still haven't really added too much to the list that we've been working on. Let me see if I could pull that up actually. I definitely think there's some interesting opportunities the more I start digging into some things. The video I just created of Academy Sports, that one's pretty interesting. But like I said in the video, the thing that scares me about that is just the dominance that Amazon has. It's just scary to own any sort of storefront opportunities. My wife just texted me that another restaurant in our area went out of business, and it's just like these lower margin businesses that that are really consumer reliant are a little concerning for me personally. I think we might have lost. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can still hear me. So All right. So as you guys can see here, Barrick Gold was on there. We had about a $15, $16 stock price. That is now pushing, that one's pushing $21 a share. I got a little too cute with this one. This should have been one that I just held. I don't know why I didn't just hold it. It made a pretty big move. I took profits. Should have probably just held that one. When you think about the political tension, the move in gold, just didn't make sense to really sell it. I was looking at the technicals and thought the move was pretty drastic in a very short period of time. But, you know, stocks can do crazy things, and that's why we try to hold them. Mosaic's up here for 24 a share. We're currently sitting at 26.50. As you guys can see here, ideally anything under 27 in Pfizer I still think is pretty interesting. GPN, we have, that's a Global Payments Inc. We have an ideal $89 stock price. Stock is sitting at $99.50. I believe UPS reports tomorrow, and we could be really, a nice sell-off in UPS could actually be putting us pretty darn close into a buy zone. I'll update my UPS outlook after earnings for you guys. That one might be one we just do live. Sometimes it's just easier to go live, so I don't have to worry about editing and then re-uploading and all that good stuff. So for me, it's just a little bit easier. So that's going to be one that we look at. Pinterest, I'll tell you what, Pinterest is getting interesting here. Under 25 bucks a share is ideally where I'd like to see it. Maybe this pullback gets a little bit stronger than everybody anticipates, and Pinterest could be a pretty interesting buying opportunity. This one's kind of hitting on all cylinders that I personally like on Pinterest. So that's one as well that I'm kind of looking at. So if I'm not sure if anybody has any questions or comments or anything, but we'll be updating UPS during earnings. I'm trying to think if any other ones are reporting here. Yeah, so we'll probably do a live stream on UPS earnings. So I guess I'll sign off here, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everybody's time, and yeah, we'll all see you in the next one, I guess. Peace.